Alrighty, welcome back to Kim Talks. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I am super excited to have you here as we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. I want to share today's guest is here all the way from New York, and I'm super excited all the way from New York in my studio, my virtual studio. But you know what? Before we jump over to that, Queen of Resilience Shop. Be sure to shop online. Bit of sass, a lot of class, some fun in there. Straighten your crown, shop around. Queenofresilience.shop. So today, Alaura Lovelight, and I love this name. It's a beautiful name. Is an American R&B singer, songwriter, producer, and published writer based out of New York City with her debut single, Eroticy. Got to check it out. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. Makes me think of long jacuzzi baths with some great candlelight and a bottle of Prosecco. But she's currently playing on radios both nationally and internationally on over 100 radio stations in more than 17 different countries, including US, UK, Australia, Scotland, Canada, Africa, and more. She's also the CEO of Lovelight Sound Music. It is a music company that offers courses and workshops teaching musicians, teens, and creatives how to use music and creativity to build an income through their craft and a more confident, purposeful life that they love. She has performed all over the US for over hundreds of thousands of people, been featured in over 60 radio stations, televisions, and podcasts in just the past 4 months. She's been busy. Been published by major online publications with millions of readers, and her music has been heard by millions on social media. She's also the founder of You Matter Movement, working in schools and communities to use the power of music to speak out against bullying and empowering others that their story matters. And I love that. Just so you know, that's what grabbed me. Welcome
Good.
to the show, Laura. Am I saying that
Thank
right?
you. Yes, thank you for having me. What a great intro.
You know what? You have, and I'm sure there's even more to that than what I
That's
even
a
grabbed in
condensed version.
here.
Yeah.
Well, what we always like to dig in, because we know that for me, the definition of resilience is that our past does not define our future. And so I really like to dive in a bit and get a little bit of that background, that origin story. Who is Alora? And, just give me a little bit of who you are. Give me a snapshot.
Yeah. I have done music my whole life. I have done music sorry about that. Oh, we're live. I have done music since I was a kid. I played piano when I was very, very young at the age of 4. But growing up, I don't know if you asked me when I was younger, would this be my path? I think part of me always really wanted to do this. There's pictures of me from, 2, 3, 4 years old, like with a microphone in my hand. So I think I was destined for that, but there was a long journey in between of finding myself and loving myself and embracing myself as a woman and that piece of the puzzle. So there's been a lot. That's where all of those writer, this and that, there's just been a lot to the story where I have gone through a lot of things in my past that I think made me who I am. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, the generic answer is, I've studied music my whole life and I went to school for it and I did all of that, but more in more depth, which is what you had said to me earlier, is that a lot of my story is what defines what I do now. And it took me a long time to be okay with having so many elements. A lot of people say, well, just do this, well, just do this. And I'm like, but I love all these things. And it took me a long time to step into that, but here we are.
Absolutely. Well, and as a creative, you're multifaceted.
Yeah.
And I get that. Everybody keeps going niche down, right? Find that one thing. And it's really hard when there's so many components to, ourselves, right?
Right.
Where are you from originally?
Rhode Island.
Oh, so you're actually originally, so yeah. Now tell me, being in that I have never had the honor and the excitement of being able to go to New York City. It is on my bucket list. In fact, when COVID hit, that was where I was going that year.
Oh no.
Yes. So, if you were to be in any of like the musicals, right?
Yeah.
What would be the one that speaks to you?
Ooh, it was like always a present when I was young that my mother would get me tickets to see a Broadway show. Like that was our like special thing that we did. And she would take me to the city and we would go see, I think the first show I saw was Beauty and the Beast. But Phantom of the Opera is one of my all-time favorites. And like I don't even think it's on Broadway anymore, but on the stage they had like the whole lagoon and they would have a river and it was so interesting, and somehow some way we ended up in the front row. I forget how. It was like a perfect storm of things that got perfectly pieced together, and she had a friend or something. We ended up in the front row. It was just like the most amazing experience ever.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, no, like I said, New York is on my bucket list. I will make it
You
there
gotta
hopefully in the
come. It's the
next
best.
12 months. It's on my list.
There's
So,
nothing like it.
that's what I hear repeatedly.
It's true.
So, because there's so many different facets here that you're diving into, right?
Yeah.
What are you? So, kind of walk us through. I think I see kind of three spokes here. You have your music production, you have your coaching, and then you have your philanthropy. Can you kind of walk us through those? Did I get that right?
Yeah, yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah, so like on one hand, I would say that like, I believe and feel in my heart. I'm an artist in all senses of the word at the beginning of it. I love, in the last year, I've really kind of discovered that it's not just music that I love. That's my gift, and it's kind of the thing that comes natural to me is writing music and singing and songwriting. Those are the things that like I believe are my gift on this earth, and so that's where I started. But over the last 2 years, COVID was really interesting for creative people, right? Because it like forced us to be able to have time to create and be like, whoa, I'm good at other things. And so I would say my art and my music is number one. That is so important to me. It's so special to me. I love to put out music. And then the second one is my company, which is Lovelight Sound Music, which I is like my own baby child. I adore the company and the growth and the people that we get to work with, and the courses that have blossomed out of my journey and my story, to turn into courses for teen girls and courses for musicians to learn more about making money, and even courses for people who are just creative people who say, how do I put myself out there? And over the last year, a lot of that has just provoked a lot of creativity for me to be like, well, I can share this and I can teach this and I have this to offer besides performing, because I couldn't do that. And then on the last spoke, as you said, is my You Matter movement, which I also is very close to my heart. And it kind of birthed out of a single that somebody asked me to write that never got used for the project that it was intended for. And it became this whole other thing. It was a lot of unfolding where the song had come out, and then that happened at the time of a school shooting. So it made me kind of reconsider, what does you matter really mean to people, and how could it impact people to feel better and not feel so down or depressed, or school shootings, things like that. And it turned into this major movement that now we go and visit schools and we do empowerment, we do workshops, and I love all of it. I love all of it. It's really fun.
I want to pick up because you said when we first were talking that you had to find yourself and find confidence within yourself. And now you're talking about You Matter, and we're talking about the school bullying and such. Was any of that part of your childhood growing up? Was any of that? Because I mean, honestly, we sit here and we see this incredibly talented, absolutely beautiful woman, and we, how we're now in this Instagram space where everything's visual, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we look at you and we can't see that you would have any challenges. So
Yeah.
can you share with me how, like, because I'm seeing that,
Yeah.
I'm feeling that there's a little something deeper here.
Definitely. Absolutely. I wasn't overly bullied in school. I probably bullied myself more than anybody else did. I just felt so not the pretty girl. And so I never went to a school dance. I never had a boyfriend in high school. Like you said, I love that you point that out because people meet this version of me and they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, if you only knew 14-year-old Alaura who just like I went through a phase where I'd only wear pants and long shirts. I just was so uncomfortable. Um, and people knew I was really good at music. So they didn't bother me too much. They're like, that girl might be famous, so be nice to her type thing. Yeah. But it was a hard time for me, a really hard time for me where it was a lot of me not understanding my own worth and me feeling like, well, I'm not the cookie cutter girl and I'm not the popular cheerleader girl. And, that makes me not good enough. And that's so untrue. It's so untrue. And that's a big part of why I do the teen girls course that these girls are in the very same exact position that I was in. And then the anti-bullying and mental health and just saying like, let's talk about what's going on and let's talk about feeling left out and let's talk about why we don't feel good enough. And, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade is a very hard time for a lot of people. Your body is changing and your mental, you're trying to figure out where you fit in. And like I said, that You Matter video was based after a school shooting. And I thought, I took the project for the music video to a school, and one of my sixth graders said, maybe nobody told him that he matters. And maybe nobody told him, like, you have
Wow.
a place and you're important. And I was like crying in the sixth grade classroom, like, yes, that's right. Like,
And that
that's
is interesting because I don't know where the stats are in New York, but here in Calgary, they just released the stats on our youth hotline. Our call-in youth hotline is
okay.
at all-time record
I
highs. The
believe it.
mental
I
health
believe it.
stress,
Yeah.
especially on children that age range, those
Yeah.
those tweens and teens, that they're calling it developmental disruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
COVID has really, really, really hurt that. That's already a hard age, but now the kids are like, I feel behind in classwork. Now I don't see my friend. I don't know. I totally believe that. And I would speculate that New York is very similar.
yeah, I would say that this is probably something that we're seeing around the world globally. Um, e- okay, so recently, was it the Grammys that TikTok singers took? Did you watch
No,
that?
I
I
didn't
think
see
it
that.
was, yes,
Maybe it was. I didn't see.
musicians like yourself
Yes.
during COVID got creative and they won a Grammy doing all the highlights of from Bridgerton. So they
Oh,
made
funny.
songs, Broadway style songs off of Bridgerton,
Oh,
and they ended up winning a Grammy with this. TikTok. How do you see TikTok for creatives? How do you leverage TikTok? Is this, or what platform is your go-to platform?
yeah, I'm getting into TikTok just because that's the wave and that's what's next. So I think it's fun. I think it's really neat. It's very creative for a lot of people to learn how to cut videos and do music and voiceovers and whatever. I think it's a really creative platform for people to express themselves, even people who are musicians that play instruments and do things like that. Something I'm really into on TikTok is duets, is where a lot of people will record like a video and then you can duet them. You can sing a duet with them. I love that. I think
Oh,
it's so fun.
I saw that with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, really?
What was that? Color me down, dun, 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 dun. I can't remember what it was. I watched it. Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. I watched it probably for a half hour, and it was
Oh,
only
how
like a
sweet.
30-second video.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's so fun. I think everybody's kind of getting into it just because it's easy and it's fun. And it's like you can make a video with somebody that you want to that maybe doesn't know who you are, but you're like, hey, I could duet this, you know? So I think it's
Oh,
cool.
very fun. I have yet to figure out TikTok. I did one, a couple of them, and because my assistant said, give this a try. And I said, okay, what do you want to ask? I mean, whatever. And because I'm pretty much open book, right?
Yeah.
You get to my age, and there's no shame. There's like, it's all out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but I did it and I got a lot of response, but then I'm going, okay, now what do I do with it? Now what do I
Right.
do with it?
Right.
So I want to dive back into, I always like to ask your why. But before we go to that, I want to make sure everybody out there who watches this, please like, subscribe, follow, and share. I really need you to support us so we can find out all the amazing whys out there. So, Laura, let's dive into what is your why? What's that like that driving piece inside that keeps you moving forward?
Hmm. I think it has a lot to do with what we've talked about so far, is that it took me a very long time to really feel good about myself, really feel confident, and really kind of love myself. There was a lot of sifting and a lot of sorting, and um, it was always inside me, which I don't know if I knew. And when I found it, I thought, wow, this feels so much better. And I just wish that for everybody. I wish everybody to like live a life that they are like, that was really fun. That was really cool. I think too many people dedicate too much time to things that don't matter. And whether that means worrying about social media or whether that means working for a job that you hate, like life is just way too short to not do things that you love. And that's not to say, throw everything out and quit your job no, that's not my message, but my message is to find those things every single day that you love, and don't limit yourself, don't put yourself out there, because like it's hard to be an artist, it's hard to, but it's been like I wouldn't do anything else ever. I couldn't imagine having taken any different path than I have. And so that's really my why, is that I think if I can have some kind of impact on as many people as possible to say, I listen to Alaura Lovelight, or I watch her interviews or whatever, and she inspires me to be happier and be healthier and live more and try that thing I always wanted to try. Like that's the goal. Yeah.
Absolutely. We talk a lot on the show around entrepreneurship and femme founders and that type of women making things happen for themselves. And you just touched on that. I know that you also teach courses and such. Can you share with us a bit of how, just kind of for somebody out there who is choosing to go on their own as opposed to going back to corporate America? What are some of the first steps that you took when you're creative and you chose to go into the more that linear thinking of teaching? Can you share
Mm,
with us kind of your very first steps that you took when you decided that you'd start teaching? And do you
yeah.
also do it online?
Yeah. So, my mother is a public school music teacher. She is like amazing. And she, always wanted me to be a public school music teacher. I'm like, I don't want to be tied to a job. I don't think teachers get paid enough. That's a whole
No,
different story.
I agree.
they get paid barely, like it's way not enough. Not even just a little bit, but it's a lot too not enough. But yeah, there were just so many things I didn't want to do about going and teaching, like, so I never did. And the pandemic forced me to be like, what else do I do besides perform? Like, that's what I was doing full time. I was playing 15 shows a month. And when that happened, I stumbled upon, this opportunity where some parents, family, friends, and people I had known and people who know my music had been like, "Oh, will you coach my teen?" And I thought, sure, why not? I definitely have the experience to do so. And I fell in love with it. I really fell in love. That's when I started meeting these teen girls and saying, "Oh my God, for 15 years I thought it was just me who felt uncomfortable and shy and awkward and whatever." And then I got to connect with these girls and say, "Wow, they're just like me, and they have it inside them." And another thing that kind of occurred to me that I never realized was, oh my gosh, I have never had a female mentor ever. I have never, the music industry is very male dominated. And I think it never occurred to me, like, go find a woman to mentor you. And also I wasn't presented with that opportunity because there's so few and far between. So it was a combination of like me meeting these girls and loving them like they're my younger self, and also realizing, wow, like, these young girls need a female mentor. They need it. They have to. I wish that I had had one. I didn't even realize how much that would have been a game changer.
Interesting that you say that, because the statistics prove exactly what you're talking about. When we look at public speakers, it's less than it's the generous number is 36%. The conservative number is 29% of public speakers are women.
Oh,
So that would go in alignment with
yeah.
what you're saying. It's still very male dominated.
Yeah.
So, um, so now that we've brought all this around, we know that you're just human, just like the rest of us, right?
Sure.
And can you share a time that resiliency is a muscle that has to be strengthened
Oh, yes.
repeatedly, and
Yeah.
so it does get tested. Can you share a time with us
Mhm.
around resiliency that without it, you may not be sitting here having this conversation?
Um, my blanket answer is the whole journey in the music industry. You have to have resilience every single day. There is so many times that, you know, people don't see the vision of what you see, and it's very hard. Not It doesn't have to be hard. My journey was difficult, but I don't believe you have to be a starving artist. Um, but yeah, I think that the resiliency of not giving up is the biggest thing that has been the reason I'm still here. It's not my talent. It's not being a beautiful woman. It's not whatever experience I have. It's the fact that I didn't quit. I didn't stop. So many things, opportunities that appeared as one thing and were not. They break you down, and times you think you work so hard, blood, sweat, and tears on a project that doesn't take off. Or, art is so vulnerable. It's you, and it's an expression of yourself. So like, when that's not received by as many people as you think it should be, you're like, that's a bummer. I wish more people had seen it or heard it or whatever. But I think you just learn along the way. You have to have that resilience to not quit, to not. And what's funny is, like, I said this in an interview just the other day, don't quit feels so trivial because it's been trivialized of like, yeah, yeah, don't quit, put it on a pillow, or put it on a
Yeah.
Hallmark card. But like, you can't give up. You have to, you can have a bad day, you can cry it out, you can eat a whole thing of ice cream, you can do all of those things. You can decide I'm not doing anything today or this week or whatever, but you can't stop all the way. You can't.
Absolutely, absolutely. Continuing moving forward is the only way, because if you're not moving forward, you become stagnant and
Yeah.
then you die,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people walking around that don't even realize they're dead.
I know. It's
You
true.
know, there's a lot of people who are not doing or putting anything back into this world, right?
Right.
And I think that's where our creatives and like we even mentioned the teachers are putting huge amounts back into this world, and they should definitely be
Yeah.
rewarded.
Hey, the
Um,
teachers.
so books, let's talk books. I'm gonna that's quick whiplash. So if anybody's out there listening and you go books, like we just went from teachers to books. Okay,
Creative.
books,
It's all creative.
creatives. We're back into the creatives. Okay, so you have a book coming out. Can you share with us the title? Do you have a working title on it, or you already have a book? Like, where are we at with that?
I'm working on, that's like such a fresh idea. That's like it I'm hoping to have something published before the end of the year, but it's such a fresh idea that I've just kind of been playing with. I do write for quite a few different websites. Some people have asked me just to write about my creativity and to write about things like that. But I think the best thing that I really enjoy writing about is really based around a course that I have called The Willing Creative. And it's really important. I think the number one thing about being successful and being creative is your willingness. And I talk a lot about that in the course. And I plan to work on a book about that, just to talk about your willingness to try and your willingness to fail and your willingness to get rejected. And there's so many things that you just have to be willing to say, I'm going to walk into this fire and be on the other side. And being creative is an amazing and unique gift, but doing it and doing it well requires a certain level of willingness. So yeah, be on the lookout for some writing about that.
I think that will be really cool as we move from the industrial age into the age of knowledge. The age of
Yeah.
knowledge definitely supports the age of creativity,
Yes.
right? So I think that because now we see these NFTs, we're seeing so many different monetization opportunities for
Yes.
creatives that's no longer restricted to just a radio play or
Mhm.
just a stage opportunity, that there's
Right.
so many more opportunities
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
Absolutely. So share a quote, the days that are hard. What's
Mm.
something that you kind of give yourself a kick in the pants with? What is something
Mhm.
that either your mother has said to you, or a favorite teacher, or even a student of yours has shared with you that just kind of
Mhm.
resonates?
One thing that I always say about mostly everything I do, because I'm quite a perfectionist. I like things to be right. I like things to be perfect. But sometimes it rains on the wedding day. What can you do? So before every single show that I do, I always say kind of a mantra to myself of connection over perfection. And I tell that to,
Ooh.
yeah, I tell that to everybody I can and work with mostly. Um, Especially when I have people I'm coaching that have a show or are putting a book out, or the reason that we share our art is for connection. It's not for perfection. It's not to be the most perfect. It's to connect with people on a level that maybe somebody else can't connect with them on. So that,
Connection
yeah,
over perfection.
yeah, that's my good one.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that. So, Laura, where can we find you? So, I do have your YouTube up here is Alaura Lovelight. But
Mhm.
what are the Instagram? What are your different places that we can find you?
Yeah, pretty much everything is at Alaura Lovelight. So if you look for me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, YouTube, it's all at Alaura Lovelight. I try to keep it consistent for fans to kind of know exactly how to find me. And then everything about the courses, there is 3 courses. One is called Make Music, Make Money, and that's, for gigging musicians to make more of a stable income with music. The Willing Creative, which I've talked about, and then Unseen to Queen is for teen girls, and it's like a music but confidence empowerment class, really. Those are all available at lovelightsoundmusic.com. And you can go, I would just say if you like our chat and you're interested in more about me, go to lovelightsoundmusic.com. All my music is there. All the courses are there. There's a form if you want to contact us, if you have a question. If a school wants to have the You Matter movement come to their school, there's a form for that. If they want to say, hey, we want you to come visit us, we would love to do that too. So it's all there. Go check it out.
That, you know what? I love the fact that you did not slow down during COVID. You turned this into the silver
Mhm.
lining within a very dark cloud for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
you're making that shine outwards. And all of this you've done during COVID, which is what I think is unbelievably amazing.
Yeah.
What a huge legacy! What a positive way to lean into something that you have zero control over,
Right.
and you made it yours.
Yeah.
I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. And just so you know, Unseen Queen, I think best youth name, like best.
Yes.
Honestly, beautiful. I
Right?
love it.
It's so perfectly descriptive of the course.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Thank
All
you.
righty. You know what? Always try and honor your time at 30 minutes in and out with the most amazing women that I can find around the world. And today was absolutely one of those days. Again, Alora, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you
Um,
for having me.
awesome. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment, like, share, subscribe, comment. Let's so the mantra here, folks. No, next time you're feeling your resiliency is lagging, be sure to listen and lean in to our resilient community. You can grab your free membership at resilientgift.com, and that's where you'll get a monthly magazine and all those other great things out there. Or, you know what, you have a story of resiliency that you'd like to share with me, just DM me on Instagram at Resilient Series, and I would love to chat with you, where we celebrate and showcase female founders, coaches, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, creatives, and those who aspire to be any and all of the above. Again, until next time, thank you for sharing your time, and I look forward to seeing you. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.